Hello, my name is Bea Lizama. I'm Valerie Moreno, and we're moderating for the debate today. Yeah, for government. Between Joseph and Kenya.
Hello, I'm Joseph Collier, and I'm one of the presidential candidates for 2026.
Hi, I'm Kenya Ditlevson, and I'm one of the presidential candidates for 7th period.
Given the worrisome rise of mental disturbance within the younger generation of America over at least the last decade, what would you now do to improve the mental health of our citizens?
You want to start?
Ladies first.
Okay. I believe that a huge part of mental health decline in our youth is due to social media. I believe that constant use of social media continues to just deteriorate our mental health, the way we see ourselves, and just our overall well-being. I believe that implementing recreational centers for youth to hang out at would be a great opportunity for them to just be able to socialize with others and to be able to, instead of texting and calling, they would be able to interact with each other in person, which I feel would be best for their mental health rather than just being on the phone.
Okay. So, what I believe is affecting teenagers the most nowadays is definitely the fact of stress once you get out of high school. Okay, the impending doom of how the future is looking is causing a bunch of mental issues amongst kids. Okay, the idea that you have to pay taxes, you have to work a high-paying job so you can even afford to live. Minimum wage used to be able to pay for everything you need, but now it's not cutting it. So what we need to do is take some weight off of their backs. Okay, when it comes to the healthcare system, it's one of the most expensive things that they have to deal with, and that's on their plate. And the best way we can do that is impose healthcare plans that allow them to get healthcare for free, as long as they provide that they're an American citizen and they're paying taxes. It will allow them to get this major piece of stress off their back. Okay, I've met many civilians where they have to pay upwards to thousands of dollars just to maintain healthcare and to get the help they need. This isn't even just to use it, it's just to have it as an option. So I want to reduce the stress that teenagers have to go through and have to worry about the future by implementing policies that allow them to feel freer and have the guarantee of healthcare.
I think. For your plans for free healthcare, how would you go about that?
So some things I want to do is establish certain standards that make healthcare easier to obtain. So, by having certain regulations, like proving that you pay taxes and you're an American citizen, we can keep it to whoever is spending their money on taxes. It goes straight back to them and giving them quality healthcare. Okay, it'll be as simple as showing your military ID in a hospital, and then they take care of most of the rest thanks to insurance. It'll be just like that, allowing them to forget about some of these larger issues. And another thing with this is we'll be able to implement, future current technology and technology to come to make healthcare cheaper by allowing them to get things more efficiently, so everyone is, getting through the healthcare system as healthy and as quickly as possible. And by doing this, we'll be able to show different preventative issues because it's a lot easier and cheaper to prevent the issue than it is to solve the issue. How many issues are causing uh, the social issues amongst teenagers? Besides social media, is there anything else largely contributing?
I think school can also be a big one. I know that bullying is still a persistent issue, especially in schools. So I know that school can just be a place that is not fun for most teenagers to go. So in regards to the recreational center, I believe that children can find good community there that can help them find good friendships and show them that there are good friends out there, and just give them kind of a place of escape.
Okay. By giving them a place to escape, they need to find the time to do to go there, correct? With how much teenagers have to work, go to school, and with the overall what they have to do in life, say a senior in college, you have to practice, get ready for scholarships, schooling, and things like that. Where are they going to find the time to use these if what's stressing them is taking away time?
Yeah, I definitely believe that that is a good point. I know that there's so much going on in teenagers' lives, and it can obviously be hard to find those things. But I do believe that if they can find the time, and there is time, I think when we slow down and we kind of just think about it, there's a lot of time to just have downtime. And I know that it can be stressful, but I believe that if they want to find that time, that they are absolutely able to do so.
As president, how would you ensure that Americans keep their right to bear arms under the Second Amendment while also ensuring the gun violence law?
My plans for gun control and to help public safety is to increase like certain licensing requirements, regulations, and increasing the background checks people have to go through. There's certain things in people's lives that affect like why they're buying a gun, whether it's safety, whether it's like very personal reasons, or things like possibly harming another human being. By going through these background checks, we'll be able to see like their mental state, their financial position, and many things that could contribute to the reason why they're buying a gun. If we can flag people who would possibly use a gun for harmful reasons, we'll be able to protect more civilians than we lose. Not only that, but if we require gun licensing for every type of a firearm, we're able to have certain requirements for them to get it rather than just walking in and leaving it on the same day. There's cooling off periods, which definitely help, but by requiring it for all firearms, we'll definitely be able to protect the most people possible.
I agree with what Joseph said. I do believe that there should be much more regulation in place for purchasing a gun. I also believe that the age should be uplifted. I know you can't buy a handgun at 18, but you can buy multiple other firearms. So I do believe that increasing the age of buying any firearm to 21 would be beneficial because your brain is a little bit more developed at that point and you are using the gun for correct reasons. I also believe that background checks are completely necessary and you should not be able to walk out of a gun store the same day that you went in. I think there needs to be extensive background research, seeing if you have any mental health issues, any like just anything that happened in your life that would cause you to buy a gun for improper reasons. I also just believe, like you said, like cooling down periods are very important as well. Like going in, getting your background check, waiting a couple weeks, and then coming back in and getting the gun would be very beneficial to like just the population and people's lives.
So when you're talking about increasing the age to gain a firearm, that's including for all firearms,
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah.
What about people who need the protection as soon as 18? Because cooling off periods help a large amount, but by increasing the age, you're restricting who can protect themselves at what ages. When it's common for teenagers to go out into the world at 18.
Yeah, this is true. I definitely think that now, though, it's not as common for teenagers to go out in the world at 18, especially because of our economy. Therefore, I feel like there really isn't a need for like a gun. I mean, obviously, there are certain situations, and I think those situations should be accounted for because obviously there are 18-year-olds who move out, they go to college, they need a gun. That is completely understandable. But I think in most scenarios, most situations, a teenager should not be able to handle a firearm just on their own.
Okay. And in certain cultures, it's normal to buy a firearm for hunting, self-protection. By doing that, wouldn't you be affecting certain cultures, like more in the South, where it's normal to own it?
Yeah, this is true. I think that there can obviously be like regulations in place for hunting. Like people can get their hunting license, and I think they should be able to buy a firearm for hunting. But I don't know. I don't feel like it's not necessary to own a gun just like because you want to own a gun if you don't need it.
As a president, how will you engage with Mexico and other countries to reform, create, and implement cooperative immigration policies?
Okay, yeah. Okay. I believe that there definitely needs to be more border security on all sides. I know that there are right now it's like a huge crisis, and I think that it's something to be very like looked into. I believe that we should allow people to come into this country on certain terms. I believe that if they are trying to make a better life for their families and they can prove that and they can prove that they are loyal to America, then I believe that they should be able to be granted citizenship as well as asylum. I feel that it is unfair to take people off the streets and just put them in camps for absolutely no reason. I understand that it is, yes, a crime to come here illegally, but I also believe that there should be no reason to treat humans inhumane just because they've come over for a better life for themselves. I know one big issue right now is like criminals coming over the border, which is completely understandable. So I feel that if you can prove that somebody is a criminal from another country who just came here to get away from the law over there, I think that removing them from this country and putting them into either prison or somewhere is understandable, but I don't think it is understandable when it's like a family or a mother or children who come here. I don't think that they should be put in those camps for just because people don't want them to be here.
Yeah. Mhm. So when it comes to the border and immigration issues, it really comes down to the illegality of it. Okay, basically by coming here, they become criminals. And what I really hate about this is the fact that they are criminals. She is right. They're looking for better opportunities in their life, but there's no reason that we should just stop at the fact that we're, quote unquote, treating them inhumanely. What we need to do is turn the situation to a very legal. The way you can do this is by making the ability to become a citizen a lot easier. A lot of people wait up to like 20 years before they become citizens of the U.S. And by then, it's almost far too late to avoid the situation that they're in the other countries, if it's, worse. And if they're looking for better opportunities, 20 years, by then your kid is already past the needing of the opportunity and is on their own lives. So the best thing we can do is by strengthening the borders so we can avoid the criminals that people fear and have caused issues, but also by making it easier to become a citizen. Without this, the operations are still illegal, people are still coming in, and people still fear the fact that they could possibly be criminals. What we can do is root out the cause of all this and make what they're doing legal. Okay, give them citizenship if they really need it. Have it needs based so we can prioritize who really needs to come over. If they're in a dangerous situation from where they come from, we prioritize getting them citizenship. Or if they have a family they need to take care of, we can prioritize that. But what we need to do is inform policies to reduce the time and the costs of all this, because that's what's really hurting the people.
How would you plan on implementing faster immigration, or
So,
just like asylum seeking?
So one of the issues with this is how long it takes going through the courts.
Mm-hmm.
So if we can find different policies and issues that keep them there, such as the cost to like purchase lawyers to help them get through it and find a solid pathway, and like just going through the legal system. Because as we all know, the courts have been clogged and have been struggling with the caseloads for a long time. So by going through like faster background checks, going through what we need just to know that they're not a criminal, okay, through background checks and financial issues and just checking their needs so we know who can come over and when we need them. By offering these opportunities, we'll be able to keep many people safe on every side of the world by granting them the chance to come enjoy the American dream we all fight for. Yes. When it comes to your plan, what policies are you actually implementing to make this a better place for them?
I just believe that we need. I don't know. I feel like one. I feel like we need to rid like immigration camps. I feel like those are very incredibly inhumane, and I understand why we implement them, but I just don't think that it's correct to treat humans in that sense. Um, so I feel like maybe even like a hotel or like some like a better living building would be better. And then as you said, like um, just like implementing faster court systems as well, I think would be great to put in place because I know like it can take up to 20, 30 years just to get citizenship here. And that is like mainly the reason why a lot of people come here illegally, because of how bad the court systems are. So I think that would be something very good to implement as well.
Okay. My next question is: you say we should do the best we can to help them because they're looking for a better shot at life.
Yeah.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
Say there was someone who stole a bunch of money off of a random person off the street for the reason to get higher education or to pay for food for their children. When it comes to issues like that, how would you respond?
I think that's wrong. I'm not gonna like sit here and cherry pick it. Like obviously, people should not be stealing either way, and I understand like what you're getting at. I think in a situation like that, it's important to like commend them. You know, to be lawfully right to them. You know, like arrest them, do what the court system would do to any other person because obviously that's not correct. And
how will you ensure that all communities receive equal access to clean air and water, as well as equitable response to climate disasters such as wildfires and hurricanes?
yeah.
Okay, so one thing that's an issue with the environment is that we're trying to picture it as we're not doing anything right now. Okay, a lot of people might be struggling with getting these things, but we have things already in order to do so. Okay, there's a bunch of different programs that help out anyone that's struggling with different climate issues. And one thing we could do is possibly pour more money into these programs because they are making very positive effects. There's many organizations that do their best to reduce climate change, and there's a bunch of different organizations that go out and give these people food, clean water, and maybe get them just a better opportunity. And honestly, I think with how we're progressing now, in maybe a year or a few years, we'll definitely be in a more positive position, and we won't need to make substantial changes. The status quo is doing its best right now, and by pouring more money into it, we're just trying to put a band-aid over a scabbing wound.
I believe that, as Joseph said, putting more money into those programs can definitely help Americans. I know, especially in California and on the East Coast, there are a lot of like wildfires that happen like more than 2 times a year. So I think giving aid to those communities would help significantly, as well as just informing people about natural disasters and wildfires and why they happen and how we can prevent them. And I know there are natural disasters that we can't prevent, but I think ensuring that we educate those on how they can stay safe, how they can evacuate properly, and just giving more money into rebuilding those communities would help greatly. I also just believe that we need to just, again, like educate ourselves more on these disasters, and just funding should go into programs such as, I forgot the name, but the bear. So I just think that that would be very helpful.
So you say we should, definitely pour more money into helping these civilians and pushing these programs, correct?
Yeah.
But my biggest issue is the fact that I believe the status quo is better is because we are already financially spread out thin.
Yeah.
Where are we going to acquire this money from without having causing increased taxes on all of our civilians, or just spreading ourselves even more thin?
Yeah, I think one way we can start is by educating each other on how, like specifically wildfires, how they start, like Smokey the Bear. Just like keeping that program alive and well, so people know how to prevent wildfires, how to safely, set fires when they're in the wilderness and things of that sort. I think when it comes to natural disasters, however, it is so important to take care of our people, and I know that this can cause higher taxes, and that's obviously not something that I would like. But I think when that's like our only option, that's really, well, no. I think, I don't even know. I really have no idea. But that is a good question.
As president, how do you support slash advocate for families impacted by drug addiction?
Okay. I think one way that we can continue to support families who have been impacted by drug addiction is through healthcare, specifically therapy. I feel like if we pour more money into healthcare and therapy for families that have been affected, it would cause, I guess, less of a domino effect within the family. Because usually, like, if a parent does drugs, the kid will ultimately lead on that same lifestyle. So I feel like attempting to deter them from that through therapy, through like schooling, through anything would be very helpful to those families. I also feel like we need to have like support for just families in general who have been impacted by maybe deaths through drugs or like jail time. I think that just giving therapy and health services to those families would greatly help.
So the big issue with drugs and crime is the fact that there are drugs out on the streets in the first place. Okay, the fact that these are being sold and causing the addictions is what's really harming our people. So the best thing we can do is by stopping it at the root of the cause. Okay, by maybe increasing police training and regulations so police can properly go through and find what they need and stop the issues. We'll be able to look at a safer tomorrow. As good as getting a rehabilitation program would be, the it's just solving the issue at one person at a time. And it could be generational, but the fact that they're still out there doesn't change. By stopping them from being out there, we remove the chance of them turning to drugs and then falling down this dark path. I'm curious, what do you plan on doing to protect the people from getting into the drugs in the first place?
I think just like you said, like implementing more police force into low income areas, but again, that faces the idea of police brutality because police brutality mainly is in low income areas. So I think that that is definitely a problem that we can attempt to change through workforces, through like meetings with police officers and things of that sort. So that is just one concern that I have about like implementing police force into low income areas. But I also believe that attempting to make more of an effort in our police forces to actually find criminals instead of people who are doing the drugs, finding the root cause of the drug and who is selling it, who is dealing it, who is giving it to these people, rather than beating down on those who are doing the drugs. We should find those who are selling them.
I have a question because
Yes.
you also mentioned the education on, telling them that's like bad.
Yeah.
So by trying to prevent, future generations from doing drugs, we've already have a bunch of different educations out there, but kids seem to still turn to them.
Yeah.
Vapes are, I would say, almost at all-time high addiction for different high schools. How would you plan on stopping that?
I think it's definitely a hard topic too, because peer pressure is such a huge thing, especially in high schools. I believe that we should again like focus the root cause. I believe that kind of not drilling it into like students' heads, but getting programs that are more aware, more educated, will help the students to truly understand like why they shouldn't be doing this, like how the effects can be on their brains, their bodies, and just their future.
Today, only 20% of the world's people live in free countries. What do you view as the United States' role in strengthening democracy and protecting human rights around the world?
Yeah, of course. So when it comes to around the world, many people do struggle, and there are many issues around there. But our biggest issue is taking care of ourselves right now. Okay, if you look at how our finances are spread out and things like NATO, because they help out everywhere, 2/3 of NATO spending comes from the U.S. The U.S. is putting a lot into helping out others, and right now we're around 34 trillion in debt. What we need to do is focus on kind of helping ourselves right now. We need to stay neutral. We can help spread democracy, but a lot of the times it costs us more than what we get back. Okay, by helping other people, we put ourselves in a struggling financial position where we're hurting our people. I can't give everyone the world, but I can give you guys America, and that's my main focus.
I believe that I agree with what Joseph said. I believe that we need to focus on ourselves. I know that America is just like so much in debt, and it is. I know we have our alliances and such of the sort, but I don't think that it is our place to be giving this money to other countries. We can do what we can. We can send care packages. We can do that sort of thing, just to ensure that they are fed and things of that sort, just so we can keep our alliances in place. But I don't think that it is our place to just go in and send troops and send other things of that sort to just ensure that they are safe. Because at the end of the day, like we need to focus on ourselves and what the issues that are going on in this environment.
On a prior post talking about your stances on things, you talked about how we should be a bit more aggressive when working with NATO and things around the world. Do you believe in not doing that, or do you think we should stay more in?
I don't think we should. I think like I don't know. I think like from a perspective of me, like I would love to help other people, but I also understand that it is important that we stay to ourselves. I think we can do what we can with other countries, but I also know that getting involved would create even more tension. So when I see care packages, I just mean like some food, some water, things of that sort, because I know like especially in like Middle Eastern countries, like there's not a lot of that, and they have no one to take care of them, and so I guess like it feels like sort of a responsibility to send those things out.
And my next question is, what is the U.S.'s responsibility for these other countries? I understand they're struggling, but it costs us millions to help out different countries when we're struggling ourselves and our people.
I understand that, yeah, but I think because we are in alliance, there is some sort of like pressure to help out. And I'm not saying we have to drop everything and go and like send troops in and do all this stuff, but I do think that maybe some food, some water here and there would be beneficial to those countries.
And do you have any thoughts on the fact that when it comes to NATO funding, like the 2/3, other countries contribute around 2% of GDP, which like much below that.
Yeah.
And because of that, America's putting a lot more than others are.
Yeah.
And that's straining us more than it is them. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's unfair, and I think that a negotiation should be worked out with other countries. I know that other countries are struggling just much like us, but I do believe that it is unfair for us to be paying the amount of money that we are, and they're paying little to nothing.
In your opinion, should the federal government place limits on how AI can be used in areas like social media,
I believe that AI definitely should be regulated. I feel that it is one just taking so much away from the environment, especially water, which is causing drought and just killing like the environment. I also believe that AI can be so misleading and just can be unaccredited for. I believe that in political campaigns and on social media, things can be spread that are false that AI has created, like pictures, text, things of that sort. So I think that there should definitely be a regulation. I feel that it isn't necessarily a violation of freedom of speech because it is artificial intelligence and it is just something that is being created. So I just feel like it is very much violating of people and their beliefs. And also, I don't think that it is any good for our environment because there are many stations that are being built that are just taking water and continuously taking water from us that is just leaving us more in an environmental crisis than we already were in.
So when it comes to I am not against it. AI is a tool of the future, and it grants a lot of ease of use for many people. Okay, it saves thousands of dollars for different companies when it comes to how long it takes them to do things, and allows them to output more for the people. When it comes to I do believe there should be regulations in the workplace and school and in anything where it could be like a fear of over reliance and replacement. When it comes to the workplace, many jobs like computer science, accounting, and even certain parts of engineering in the medical field are scared that AI will just take their jobs. By implementing guidelines, we'll be able to continue using it as a tool much rather than something to replace labor and make things cheaper. And when it comes to that, regulations are very important. And I don't believe, I'm agreeing with you, I don't believe that it's necessarily an issue of freedom of speech by regulating this, because by doing this, we still allow our people to enjoy the same creativities that they are given, the same rights that they're born with, but it allows them to do things where where it would normally be a lot more difficult for them at an easier point, while also allowing them to continue progressing in their lives and advancing as a human being.
Um, what is your take on AI and how it's affecting the environment?
So when it comes to affecting the environment, one of the biggest issues with AI is that it's in like hurting the amount of water we have. Well, in certain centers, they run water cooling for their technology, which is commonly used for a variety of technology for like PCs for gaming or other things. Basically, water cooling, it takes so long to go through the water you have, which tends to be undrinkable water that can't be used normally, and just uses it to cool systems. Eventually, if under a very high stress, it goes through quicker, it still continues back to the water cycle. It doesn't just disappear. So it's still going through the same systems as if we were to drink it, and then it gets back to the environment. It doesn't disappear. It's still there. It's just being used for something productive and something to help the people make their lives easier. Yes. Do you have any specific policies to help against AI, like specific regulations?
I think that implementing regulations starting in schools would be good because I know that AI is a big form of like cheating and it just doesn't help the brain to function properly, especially at younger ages when you're cheating and you're not learning. So I think that implementing that in schools, maybe like the more blockage of those certain types of AIs on laptops, iPads, whatever it is, would be very beneficial to students.
You mentioned things like cheating. Well, cheating's been like a thing of school systems forever, from plagiarism to just using calculators when you're not supposed to in your younger years. What does AI do that makes it necessarily negative in the school system?
I think it's more easily accessible. I think because everyone has electronics and technology, it is so easy to just look something up on ChatGPT, look something up on Google AI. Like it is so easy. Obviously, cheating is not correct, but in the past, I feel it was much harder to do so.
And how do you believe it negatively affects the environment since data centers, just keep using the water cycle as normal?
I believe that there are many researchers, especially with like the national human, like oh my god, I can't remember the name of it. But there are many researchers showing that water is being taken from certain environments in mass amounts to fund these data centers, and so that is why I feel the way I
Do you?
Yeah.
Well, just a closing thought is that there's a lot of things in the U.S. that costs large amounts of money, and helping data centers, helping people, helping healthcare, helping getting drugs off the street, and immigration. It all costs money. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to prioritize what matters and how well we can do it. I'm trying to focus on our people rather than going out with NATO and trying to help other countries find democracy when a lot of the time that doesn't work. So I think the best thing we can do is help the people in our country and slowly find a way to relieve the people of the stress we struggle with every day.